please remember to leave a like, a comment, share the video about, and if you haven't already, subscribe. Thank you. Well, isn't this just fantastic? Captain's Log, Subdates 230213.4. We spent the weekend fortifying the Arcadia and planning a route to the apparent Queen Fort. I've also sent an away team looking for the spoons. They've decided to start in the kitchen drawers. Hello everyone, welcome to This Week at Twitter, or Twat. Today we're going to start with a tweet from Elizabeth Warren. You know, the Native American lady. Yeah, her. DC should be a state. DC stands for the District of Columbia. I retweeted this with, I'm not sure this would be a good idea. And there's a reason why. DC, or the District of Columbia, is drawn and derived directly from the US Constitution, which provides that the district must not exceed 10 miles square and would become the seat of the government of the United States. You cannot turn that space into a state as well. The fact people live in DC is just coincidental. I know there's an issue concerning voting in that regard. I've heard rumours anyway. Being English, I couldn't care less really. But the idea that DC would become a state is silly, because then surely DC where it currently sits would have to move and go somewhere else where it then is not a state. I'd like to believe that this is not overly complicated or rocket science, but apparently to some, Elizabeth Warren especially, this is. Replies to Elizabeth Warren include, I'm getting to where I have to block every Democrat mouthpiece for saying stupid things or just playing line. You will be next. Reply, why can't they just get votes the old-fashioned way? They keep trying to change the rules. Make DC and PR states. Stack the court, keep the illegals flowing. This is when you know your policies are failing. A reply that points out something that I had alluded to earlier. Of course it should. No citizen should be subject to federal laws and taxation without representation in Congress. We should correct this injustice now. With those underneath questioning the fact that, well, where do we move DC to instead then? If you scroll down though, a point is raised. DC should not be a state. It is an unbiased cutout created by our framers for a specific purpose. What DC should be is a central meeting place where people fulfill terms, not lifetimes, to help organize and move our country forward. Bit idealist, and of course that never really happens in politics, we all know the game, but it is, on the face of it, an accurate summation of the situation, along with many telling Elizabeth Warren, you don't read the Constitution, do you? But that is often the case with many who simply want to make something that shouldn't exist. If DC became a state, which it cannot because of the Constitution and the Supreme Court abiding that, but let's say if for a moment, if DC did in fact become a state, the only reason you've done that is because you believe DC will always vote Democrat. So over the past 2 weeks, there have been some rather odd goings on when it comes to the interactions or lack thereof one receives on a public Twitter account. As we can see how much traffic we get, many of us will have noticed it's gone down a lot. And some people noticed there's a way around it, by simply making your tweets private, your account even. Elon Musk even tried it himself to test whether it vastly improved a tweet's reach. Now, I hadn't seen any of Elon Musk's tweets in weeks. I look at Twitter every day, I do follow him, but I saw nothing. He then went on to declare that something might well be wrong with Twitter. He said this in response to libs of TikTok, which in turn saw a huge surge of numbers after making their own account private. Because Elon likes science like the rest of us, he also tweeted out, made my account private until tomorrow morning to test whether you can see my private tweets more than my public ones. Over the years, many of us have had complaints about being shadow banned on many different platforms, and this is how it certainly looked. I think it was less that and more somebody had cocked up, because if you keep on adding things to something, invariably something else is going to fail. The reach of one's tweets, yeah, that sounds like collateral and reasonable to assume. Do I need sarcasm for that? But there's more, because there have been more errors since that. You may have noticed on Wednesday last week that you couldn't tweet for a few hours. I myself was told via Patreon during a Patreon VC. I went to tweet out, tweeting because a patron indicated they reached a tweet limit, and I want to see how that's even possible. Under that, you might notice though, there's at least an hour gap here between some of those tweets. and at the top of my tweet when I went to hit it, on the tweet that is, you are over the daily limit for sending tweets. This is one of those times where Twitter had a fail and would surely be in the trending tab, but it wasn't because no one could tweet about it. Now, at the time, all we had to go on was a tweet by Twitter support. Twitter may not be working as expected for some of. Sorry for the trouble, we're aware and working to get this fixed. They didn't really respond to any requests for comments on the subject. Now, I didn't know that you could actually limit the number of tweets a person can send a day to 2,400. The daily limit for DMs is 500. This is new to me. I didn't know anyone existed that could tweet that many times anyway. The dedication involved is astonishing. I'm half tempted to try it. Although if memory serves, the only time I may have come close to that, although I don't know if it counts, now I've said that, would have been years ago, 2016, 2017. Amos Yee had his massive rise, and then he admitted to wanting to protect those, well, the adult child stuff, yeah. Myself and another person called Marking Bad just spammed him with Chris Hansen memes. And I retweeted all of his, and he retweeted all of my retweets of his retweets. It really didn't stop. We were sat in a VC crying our eyes out, because it ended with both of us getting blocked, and me losing about 100 followers. At that time, I think I had about 500 followers on Twitter. It was a surprising amount of people that went. I was hoping more people would get involved when they realized what I was trying to achieve here. So next we're going to go to a tweet from Jeremiah Blue Checkmark, who tweeted, I didn't even consider my language. I used the phrases on the left too often. Accompanying it is an image by Anna Taylor, evolving from violent language. So instead of, you say something else. For example, we're going to pull the trigger. Say instead, we're going to launch. Instead of saying, I'll take a stab at it, you say, I'll take the first pass at it. Instead of saying, did we jump the gun? Did we start too soon? Or I'll bite the bullet and I won't avoid it any longer. Or that'll kill two birds with one stone. That'll feed two birds with one scone. At some point this surely has to be a parody, but don't worry, we're going to go through all of them and just be certain. What's the deadline? What's the due date? In context, I can't be the only person that thinks that a number of these wouldn't work. Continuing, instead of saying we have to pick our battles, you say we have to choose our opportunities. Instead of saying, can you shoot me an email, you say, can you send me an email? Both work, but I didn't know people sent emails these days. Can't you just send everything over WhatsApp? Instead of saying, that was overkill, you say, that was a bit excessive. Instead of saying, I bombed the presentation, you say, I didn't do my best. Instead of saying, let's just roll with the punches, you say, let's just move forward. Instead of saying, we can soften the blow by ... you say, we can make it a little easier by ... 5 more, folks. That's not a bad idea. Instead say, that's a good idea. Instead of saying, let's not beat a dead horse, you say, let's not focus on that anymore. Seems like the second follows the first one. Instead of saying, I was blown away by her presentation, you say, I was impressed by her presentation. Instead of saying, I was kicking around an idea, you say, I was thinking through an idea on the Epiphany toilet. And finally, he's a straight shooter in meetings. You reply, he's pretty direct in meetings. I can't be the only person that thinks that this idea that certain words can be regarded as violent in context is ridiculous. I can't be the only person, because if you are looking for a problem, chances are you're king or queen contrarian. You are looking for a problem because your job offers no opportunities otherwise. You're not even a problem solver, you're the creator of the problems. The ones on the left and those on the right can work. I've always held the opinion though, don't use too many words. Shorten down what you need to say if you have to in a professional setting. We don't need to prattle on and we don't need to appear smarter than we are, which is what the right attempts to make the left do, look smarter than they are. So moving on from that, let's go to some audience participation. A tweet from Game with Dave. Which of these games deserve a remake? Soul Reaver, Dino Crisis, Driver, Metal Gear Solid. For me, I'm gonna go Dino Crisis, but I'd love to know what you think. And another audience participation tweet comes from William Control, formerly the lead singer for Aiden, who tweeted, "If an old friend you haven't heard from in a while asked for your help, would you extend your hand?" The answer is yes, from me personally. I know some might now be picky and say, but in the right context. I will always say yes if I can help. That's just who I am. But I'd love to know what you're like. Okay folks, let's do some Americans Ruin Everything, with the video tweeted via Clownworld, who simply said, "This should be illegal, vomiting emoji." Now while the video is playing, I'm going to describe to you what I see.
Guys, just want to announce I am coming back.
Can I make a request already? Can you just now quit? Now? Just quit? That'd be great. Thanks.